Greetings, friends. It's Pat at Dancing Moon Travel here with another episode of Let's Talk Travel. And this week, I thought we would focus in on travel to Europe. We're going to be featuring Europe as a destination and several ways that you can explore Europe. We're going to be focusing on that in August, but I thought I'd kick us off with just some of my tips and tricks for international travel. With a special, these are really applicable anywhere you go, a lot of them, but kind of focusing on tips that would be applicable for travel to Europe, because there's so many reasons right now, folks, to travel to Europe, and we'll go into a little bit of that as we go along. Anyway, I am so glad that you are joining us this evening, and hopefully I'm going to share some information that those of you who love to travel will find useful. The first thing that I wanted to share this evening is the requirements for travel. Things have opened up, folks, and we're almost back to where with your passport, you can go anywhere on the globe. There are a few exceptions, but most of Europe right now, the Caribbean, and other destinations, there are a few exceptions. Japan's still got some challenges, a little bit in Asia, but if you want to go to Europe, there really has not been a better time to travel to Europe, and we're going to go into that a little bit just to give you some ideas and maybe allay some fears and concerns. The requirement that you had to have be vaccinated and a negative test is totally gone for the most part for most countries in Europe. You do not have to show a negative test. You do not have to be vaccinated. You just present your valid passport and you are good to go. A lot of the countries are not even requiring that travel locator form that used to be required up until just very recently. That has gone away. And the pre-cruise, the return test that the U.S. required for so long, that was a thorn in everybody's side, worrying about getting back into the country if you traveled abroad, that no longer exists. Even like the masking requirements on airplanes and things like that, a lot of that is discretionary, up to the passengers to mask or not to mask. There are exceptions. Germany, for example, is still, they require coming in and going out, you will be masked on one of their airlines. So anyway, just an overview of the requirements. Most of Europe and the Caribbean and most of the globe these days. Australia and New Zealand are finally open, so you could go almost anywhere that you might want to visit on international travel these days. Now, flights. It just seems like there is always something. So we get past all of the restrictions and concerns about the pandemic and kind of get past that, and now the airlines are driving us crazy. Folks, it's always something. And if you don't want to travel, you can always find an excuse not to go, because the airlines there are too many issues. Yeah, there are issues. And yeah, you could end up with a canceled flight. You could end up with misdirected luggage. Things happen, and this is a time when this is kind of the thorn in the side. But folks, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going. I'll be going to Croatia next month. I cannot wait. And so I'm traveling internationally. I've cruised 6 times since in the past year, and I have another one on the agenda for November. So folks, I'm out there. I am doing my part, and I encourage other people, just get out there and book. Now, with that said, flights, my advice on this is tips and tricks and some advice that I'm just offering on international travel on this. So I think most anyone would figure that whenever possible, book a nonstop flight. First, it's safer. You don't have it's a landing and takeoffs that usually where any problems lie. It's very safe to fly. But if there is an issue, that's where it's going to be. If you have a stop, that's two chances for you to have a canceled flight, two chances for your luggage to get misdirected. So best thing, if at all possible, pay a little more if necessary, but do the direct nonstop flight if you can. It's just going to save you time and aggravation, all things considered. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about this evening is some money matters. The exchange rate, folks, it has been years since the exchange rate with the euro, which most of the continent of Europe uses. It has been years and years since the exchange ratio was basically 1-to-1, which is what we are looking at right now. Your dollar goes farther than it ever has in recent memory if you travel to Europe. So, like I said, there has never been a better time to go to take advantage of the value of that excellent exchange rate right now. It hasn't been that long ago that there was a 20% difference. So it's really, really a bargain right now. Other money matters that I recommend. When you get, how do you get the local currency? You want to have local currency in hand. Whenever possible, you want to use your cards. Use a credit card whenever possible. They're widely accepted for the most part, but you will have things like tips and so forth that you will need some local currency. My recommendation is that you use your debit card when you arrive at the airport. Now, folks, caution here. Be sure when you are going to travel that you let your bank or card providers know that you will be traveling internationally so they don't cut you off. Their fraud department sees a charge from England or France or Amsterdam, and they get a little nervous because that's not where you normally are. So let them know that you will be traveling so you don't have issues with your card being put on hold and all of a sudden you have no access to your funds. I recommend that when you land at your destination, that's the best time to get the best value for your currency exchange. Use your debit card at one of the ATM machines right there at the airport when you arrive, and just do a cash withdrawal and get some cash in hand. How much will you need? I don't know. It depends on what you plan to do. But, you do want to have a supply. Most of Europe, it's on the euro. So you want to have that cash, and the best place is get it at the airport. Another alternative is probably the second best place is at your local bank prior to departure. That is a second best fan. Some people really want to have that local currency in hand when they arrive and they put their feet on the ground. Up to you, but your best exchange rate is usually going to be at the ATM. You can also use ATMs. They are plentiful around Europe. Be careful about where you use them. Use those that are associated with a bank. They're usually on the outside of a bank, built into the wall of the bank. And those are the best ones if you need to get some additional cash on the fly. If you need to get some cash and you have no other alternative, usually the hotel front desk can do a currency exchange for you, but they will probably charge you a premium fee for that service. I recommend when you are traveling internationally that you bring two cards with you. A credit card to carry with you to use for the majority of your charges whenever you're charging things for purchases and meals and so forth. Use your credit card. Have the debit card to get those cash advances that you may need. Keep that locked in your safe whenever you're out and about, so it will be your backup card should something happen and your card be compromised while you are traveling. You have the debit card as a backup. Keep it in, like I said, in your safe to use as a backup. Only take it out when you need to get a cash advance. So that's my tip on some money matters. One of the frequently asked questions that we get, I think probably more than any other question people ask, is about tipping when traveling to Europe. Folks, it's nothing like here in the USA where when you dine out, they expect 15 to 20%, 20% has become the norm. So when you're dining out here, that's just an automatic, be included. That is not the way things are done in Europe. Now, that said, each country is a little different. And if you just go online and Google tipping practices and fill in the name of the country, Italy, France, England, wherever you are going, and you can get some very good advice, lots of articles with good advice out there. But for the most part, in Europe, the wait staff is paid a minimum wage that's a living wage, unlike what we do here in the U.S., where the tip is what your servers are living on. You don't tip at all if you're doing a self-service kind of thing. Do not feel guilty if you get bad service about not tipping. So just remember, tipping, and another thing that I recommend is tip in cash when possible. Give the tip directly to your server, the person you intend it to go to. It's not as widespread. We're accustomed to just signing everything. I hope you don't hear that thunder. We've got a thunderstorm that suddenly moved in here. But tip directly to the person that you intend it for in cash when possible. It's not nearly as accepted in Europe to sign the tip on the check. Some of the more upscale restaurant establishments do have that on their check when you get it, but for the most part, you would tip in cash, and pretty much 10% in most destinations is a pretty good guideline, 15% at the most. And bars and cafes, maybe 3 to 5%, or round up. If you get a bar bill for 42 euro, round it up to 50, and that works too. So that's a very good way to tip when you are traveling abroad in Europe. Who would you want to tip besides wait staff? Certainly porters who carry a bag. A small amount, 4, 5 euro is acceptable. Tour guides, certainly you want to tip your tour guides if you are taking a group tour of any kind. Usually in the neighborhood, depending on the country, $5 to $10 per person. If it's an hour, 2-hour tour, that's usually sufficient. If you have a driver and guide on a motor coach tour that is multiple days, then you are going to want to tip them much more handsomely, 50 to 100 euro, depending on the situation, how many days and so forth. Could well be that's per person. Another question that we're asked very frequently is about the electricity across there in Europe. you are going to need a converter of some kind. The plugs in Europe vary depending by the country. You can get these kits that have all kinds of plugs that you can just put on your little thing, and they all plug in depending on what you need. You can use any of them. Um, this is a very standard one you frequently see, as is this. So, but they have all kinds of configurations depending on the country you're in. So, getting one of these kits, they're inexpensive. You're prepared for any eventuality. Highly recommend that you take those along with you, because without these, you are not going to be able to use your electric appliances or charge your whatever electronics you may have that you want to charge. So be prepared for that. Take your converter. If you're traveling soon, order it, and you can get there's dozens of them online. So just order it up, and you will be fine. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is something everybody's always asking about. Most places in Europe, you're going to find it works well and it's readily available, usually included with most of your hotel packages. So readily available, and usually with no charge. Another one is your mobile phone. Folks, there is no way I can tell you whether your phone is going to work in any of these destinations. There are dozens of providers, and each provider has a list of plans. So I have no idea what kind of plan you need. So when you are traveling, contact your provider, find out what your coverage is. You may want to make it a practice. In fact, I recommend most of the time it is a good idea to keep your phone in airplane mode so that you don't run up a huge roaming charge. Here again, this is something you need to check with your provider, as it varies with your provider and it varies with the plan, the particular plan that you have. Be aware of time differences when you're traveling to Europe. Easy to forget, and pick up the phone and call your sister back home, and it's 3 o'clock. Say it's 9 o'clock in the morning in your location. That may be 3 in the morning at her home. So be aware when you're traveling. If you are going to reach out to somebody, if you're going to make that call, think about the time difference, because it is significant when you when you're traveling that far out of the country. Be prepared for the weather. It's very easy to just Google online average weather, Rome, Italy in August, and find out what the weather is going to be like the time of year when you're traveling. Always be prepared for the possibility of rain. Even if it says it's going to be dry, those unexpected rain showers happen. A small folding umbrella, a lightweight rain poncho, great to have with you, just to be prepared. Also, even in warm climates, if you're traveling in the summertime, oftentimes the air conditioning in restaurants and other places that you might frequent can be chilly. So have a light wrap, ladies, if you're cold sensitive. Just have something. And if you're dining al fresco at a seaside restaurant, you might find that sea breeze in the evening becomes a little bit chilly. So have a light wrap with you that you can just throw over your shoulders if necessary. Shoulders. That reminds me, if you are touring around in Europe and you are going to be the beautiful, beautiful cathedrals and churches and any kind of religious shrine, or establishment, it is considered proper for ladies for you to have your shoulders and your knees covered. So capris are better than shorts if you're going to be doing any kind of walking tour where you might be accessing those. And if you're sleeveless, have some kind of little shawl or wrap that you can just throw around your shoulders if necessary, because they will sometimes, even if it's not marked, there's no signage, it's just not good form to have your shoulders or knees exposed. Gentlemen, remove any head covering if you have a hat on. Ladies, a head covering is fine. A lot of places, that's the tradition. But for gentlemen, if you are entering a house of worship, a church, and really museums and so forth, it's really good form to just take off the hat. And just be prepared for that in the event that you're doing tours. One thing people ask us about a lot is insurance. Get it. If you are traveling, just do not leave the shores of the U.S. without having travel insurance in place. It not only covers you in the event you have to cancel, but it also provides medical coverage while you are traveling. I always like my travelers, whenever possible, to have $100,000 in medical coverage. And the third party insurers, it is the cost of the insurance. We always ballpark it at about 10%. Most of the third party insurers use the cost of the trip and the age of the client to determine the cost of the coverage. So if you are in my category and have a few years on, it's going to cost us more when we get the insurance. But folks, whatever the cost, prudent people do not leave home uninsured. That has always been the case, and far, far more important these days for a myriad of reasons that you can probably guess most of them. Wow, we've got a storm going on, wouldn't you know? Motion sickness, if you're going to be on vessels, think ahead. If you're motion sensitive, have some sort of remedy with you, whether it be pills or the patch. Some people swear by that acupuncture wristband. Whatever works for you. Throw one in your suitcase, get a prescription for your doctor if you want to use the patch, but be prepared if you think you will be doing a day cruise or anything on the water. Some people get airsick, so that's another consideration. Now, safety. Folks, most of the Caribbean, Europe, most of the tourist places are very, very safe, and the destinations work very hard to keep it that way because they want people to come and they don't want to get a reputation for being an unsafe destination. But please, just use common sense. Don't do stupid stuff. Don't hang your purse on your chair, ladies. If you're in Italy, I almost guarantee when you turn around, it'll be gone and you'll never have a clue when they took it. Italy is a very safe destination, but they are infamous for their accomplished pickpockets and people who are able to get away with handbags and valuables if you turn your back. Don't set your valuables or your purse down and walk across the way to get a good picture. Either have someone watch it or take it with you. Do not get it. Mostly it's crimes of opportunity that happen when people are traveling. Just don't give them the opportunity. Do not send out an invitation. Do not flash wads of cash. Do not string out a string of credit cards. That is asking for somebody to target you to try to get your stuff. Another clue that I would give people these days, especially when you are getting ready to travel, the 2 weeks or so before, take extra care, be extra cautious, just be very careful about where you go. Consider the possibility of staying home from some places you normally might frequent. Maybe have your groceries delivered, or have uh, uh, watch online, watch your church or worship service online rather than in person for the week or two prior to your departure. You just don't want to pick up a bug and get sick and have to miss your trip. And this actually happened. And she's a very prudent person. One of our agents actually just missed a big family trip to Scotland because she tested positive, and being a person of good repute, she did not want to travel and expose anyone uh, to her possible being contagious and put other people at risk. Although she was not particularly feeling bad, um, you know, just be careful in those couple of weeks before you leave, so you don't end up missing a long planned trip. Uh, any extra protocols you can use? Be extra prudent about using your mask and your hand sanitizer, whatever it is you think it is appropriate. I know everybody's got a different opinion on that, but just a word to the wise from me. That's what I do when I plan to travel, and just encourage you to consider the possibilities. I'm watching the clock here, folks. Another thing I want to mention, though, is when you are packing, try to pack light. Be aware of the amount of clothing and also the weight of what you're packing. You don't want to get hit with overage charges, and you don't want to be that person at the airline desk where you have to, you're 2 pounds over and you have to remove some things and start wearing layers on board the plane because your bag is overweight. So do be aware. Think, for the most part, think casual. Ladies, shorts, capris, skirts, sundresses, uh, a dress or two if you're planning to dine at some fine restaurants, which is part of the fun of traveling, isn't it? But pack things that are lightweight and easy to accessorize. A t-shirt, swinging a little t-shirt dress uh, can really look like $1 million when you just put on a little blingy jewelry or a scarf or something to accessorize it. Ladies, and this is, I'm sorry, it's not always the ladies. My husband has the philosophy of packing, if you own it, bring it. And as a consequence, I'm always taking things out of my suitcase because I want to travel light. Remember, gals, we don't need 12 pairs of shoes. We really don't when we travel. You want a good pair of comfortable walking shoes. You're going to encounter, if you're traveling in your chances are you're going to have cobblestones and stairs without handrails and hills, and then maybe some more hills depending on your destination. So comfortable, serviceable, sensible daytime shoes are good. A pair of sandals, maybe two at the outside, will get you through. I seriously tell you, you do not need to have a bag full of shoes in order to get by with your trip. Swimwear and a cover up, throw it in there. Chances are you're going to get a chance to get in the water at some point and enjoy a beautiful beach. Now, have hat for sure. You want a head covering, a hat, sunscreen, sunglasses. And if you, like me, you use readers, uh, throw in an extra pair. When I was in Croatia last fall, the temple broke off of my main pair. I was so glad that I had that spare pair because I am helpless if it's within 3 feet of my face. I have to have my readers if I'm going to even know what I'm looking at. So anyway, a dry bag for some of you, if you have camera equipment, something like that. Um, Also, throw in a photocopy of your passport, or take a picture of it and have it on your phone. Folks, in case it gets lost, you will be so happy that you have that with you. So just take a picture of it or make a photocopy and stick it, two photocopies, stick one in your carry-on, one in your purse. So if you get separated from your purse and your passport, whatever happens, you will be prepared. Uh, Remember that 311 rule that goes pretty much worldwide, that wherever you're going, if you're on aircraft, uh, 3.4-ounce containers are acceptable of whatever it is. Uh, all of that must fit inside, whatever you have must fit inside one uh, plastic bag, quart-sized plastic bag. Um, if it's bigger than 3 ounces, save yourself a hassle and the chances that you're going to lose whatever it is. Put it in your checked baggage. Um, Finally, use a travel agent, folks. Just my advice. We save people time, money, and mistakes. We're here for you to answer questions, to guide you through the challenges of international travel, to have your back if something happens that you need assistance, and we're here for you. I had that happen just the other day. I have 4 couples traveling in Europe, doing a custom itinerary, and they could not find the address. Were going to a private home to have a cooking class, and they could not find the address. And I picked up the phone and was able to help them and get them sent on their way. And they had a great time at the Cesarina's home in Italy. So use a travel agent. For the most part, any fees are going to be very modest. We are paid by commissions, so sometimes we need to charge a fee. It depends on the trip and how much time we are going to have to invest in planning. But a travel agent is going to be a good investment regardless. Final words of advice coming up on the end here, folks. Don't leave home without your medication, your passport, and those boarding passes for your airline. Have them in your handbag, in your carry-on. I have 2 copies, one in each. Anything else you leave at home, you can replace, you can deal with. But if you get to your departure place and you don't have your passport and you don't have your medication, that can be an emergency as well. So always have them, and do not put them in your checked baggage. You want to have them on you and accessible at all times so they don't get separated from you. Finally, we always have our giveaway, folks, for Let's Talk Travel. And today I have the wine wings. These are, if you are traveling in Europe, in Italy, in Croatia, in France, you might find some wonderful regional wines and you want to bring some home. Well, folks, you do not want to pack a bottle of red wine and have it break in your luggage. I mean, this is not a good thing. These wine wings have this Velcro fastener at the end. It's perfectly sized. It's bubble wrapped. They're very secure. It's going to protect the wine. It's going to protect your clothing. If I don't know, if somebody ran over your suitcase somehow and crushed the bottle of wine, it would keep it from getting all over the contents of your luggage. Anyway, folks, that's it for tonight. I'm so glad you tuned in for another episode of Let's Talk Travel. My name's Pat Hand at Dancing Moon Travel, and we choreograph dreams. Bye till next week.